Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Best Picture Series, where we talk about all the Academy Award Best Pictures, past to present.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, a Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about Godfather Part 2. Electric Boogaloo. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
Electric Boogaloo.
Anyway, it's a 1974 film. This is the 47th movie to win Best Picture. In addition to Best Picture, it won Best Director, Best Writing, Best Music, Best Art Direction, and Best Supporting Actor, Robert De Niro, who plays a young Vito Corleone in this film. So yes.
So you're saying that Vito has won 2 Academy Awards, Marlon Brando and De Niro?
Basically, yeah. As a matter of fact, yes, that is correct. So this movie won double the awards from its predecessor. The first movie only won Best Picture, Best Writing, and Best Actor as well, which Marlon Brando, as you just mentioned, declined. And only thing notable to talk about, there are a lot of things that happened in the ceremony. The only thing notable to talk about is that this was the last ceremony that NBC aired before ABC took over because they acquired the televised rights for this.
Ooh.
Yeah, fun fact. But anyway...
Well, so Pacino didn't win any award for his acting in this, which is surprising.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
He did a great job in this film, yeah. It's the first sequel to win an Academy Award. Right?
I think you're correct. It's one of 3 movies to win an Oscar that is a sequel. So it's this one, Silence of the Lambs, which is a sequel to Manhunter.
True.
And also, of course, Return of the King, the third in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Never heard of it.
Oh, how dare you. But if anything, yeah, I mean, like, I believe you're right that this is the first one, which is pretty unprecedented. It's pretty crazy when you win Best Picture, the first one does, and then only like a couple of years later, the sequel would win. That's just amazing.
You know what? Come to think of it, you know what else is crazy? Coppola released Godfather 1 Part 1, Godfather Part 2, The Conversation, and Apocalypse Now in like 7 years.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Well, that dude was full of piss and vinegar, man. I mean, he really wanted to make films. Like, that was his lifeblood. And to this day, it's still his lifeblood. He's like in his 80s, maybe pushing 90 now, as of this recording.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very, very tenacious when it comes to his work. I mean, he's very passionate. So, I mean, he's probably one of the most passionate filmmakers out there. The only ones I can think of is maybe Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, James Cameron. Like... And these are the big names, too. I mean, there are a lot of other filmmakers that are just as old that are very passionate also, but just like,
correct.
That's just amazing when you really think about
Eastwood, he's still making movies. He's 95.
Oh my God. Oof. He's almost a centennial. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this film, honestly, it's hotly anticipated. When they made this film off the heels of the greatest, biggest film of all time, there was a lot of pressure involved, but luckily for Coppola, even though he got jerked around a lot in the first one, he had the free reins to do whatever he wanted. One of the first things he did was fire Al Ruddy. He's like, I don't want to work with you anymore. You imposed way too many restrictions on me. I don't want that anymore, so you're gonzo. Al Ruddy did a lot for the first Godfather, but be it as it may, that happens.
Yeah.
You know, and it really shows, too, when you watch this film, there's a lot of production value in terms of, like, going back and forth. Like, the thing about this film, I guess we can kind of say what it's about. It's the sequel to the first film. It's about a mobster family, Michael Corleone. He takes over as the Don. He does a bunch of stuff. And in between that, you flash back to his father, Vito Corleone, played by Robert De Niro in this film. And it shows how he became the Don.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sequel movie that also weaves in the prequel story of Vito Corleone, or Vito Andolini from Corleone.
Yeah, Andolini, correct.
And it's done so well, and that structure, you know, they did it that way, and it worked out so well. It's,
I think, if anything, a lot of people say that Godfather Part 2 is better than Godfather Part 1.
I mean, they're both great films. I mean, what a sequel. If one... I mean, arguably the greatest sequel of all time, if not one of the greatest sequels. And yeah, it's so good. I like both of them so much, but I do prefer the first one a little bit more. I think the narration, the narrative driven story, you know, I think Part 1's a little bit tighter in that sense, but Part 2 is phenomenal. Obviously darker, more complexities, but I really, really enjoy. The best thing about Part 2 for me is the Vito prequel part. flashbacks and all that. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if anything, originally Marlon Brando was going to come back and play Vito again. Unfortunately, he declined because of a couple of reasons. One, Coppola pitched him like, hey, listen, we did you in old makeup in the first movie. How about you come back, but we're going to do you in young makeup? Because by this point, Marlon Brando was like 49 years old. And he wasn't really digging that. He's like, listen, man, it's just like, this is what my thinking is. I don't think this is documented, but I think he was just like, listen, it's easier to do old makeup on a person than it is to do young makeup on a person. It's not going to look believable. But the primary reason why he declined was because Paramount jerked him around the first film. They completely disrespected him. Like, they made him put up $1 million bond, which apparently didn't happen, but that was one of the stipulations originally. They paid him very little money to do the part, about 50 grand or something like that.
50 grand, but there was back end though.
Yeah, which he had to give up because he needed to pay 100 grand in taxes. So when he gave that up, he gave up about 50 to $80 million in residuals. So yeah, he was very salty about that. So when he came back, he was just like, all right, listen, I'm going to do this, but you're going to pay me a lot of money. And they were like, no. Like, no, that ain't going to happen. And then after that, Coppola was just like, well, how about we do a cameo? Because at the very end of the film, we're jumping way ahead, but at the very end of the film, there's like a little bit of a prequel flashback thing where before the events of the first Godfather, you see all the main family members back, Sonny's back, Fredo, and all that stuff. And Marlon Brando was supposed to reprise his role briefly as Vito. So he's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do this role. It's fine. I'll do this for you, Francis. I love you, and blah, 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 blah. The day of shooting, he did not even show up.
Wow.
That's like a dick move, if any. So Francis Ford Coppola ended up having to rewrite the scene, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but it ends up being better as a result. We'll explain how in a bit. But before we get into all that, the historical relevancy of this film is pretty big. Again, before Empire Strikes Back, before any of these other sequel films, doing a sequel film was actually a big deal. Because it was not really done. The films were typically a one and done. But they were like, there's a lot of material in the book. Let's kind of reappropriate some of that and make up some stuffs into this film. So Mario Puzo was once again hired to do the script, and Coppola was to help him. So they were all like, all right, for the Vito stuff, there's some leftover stuff in the book. Let's put that in there. But let's make up the Michael stuff, because there's really nothing that we came up with in the book. There's nothing really there. So they went ahead and did all that, and very quickly, like, my only introduction to this film prior to actually watching it is there's this show called Boy Meets World, way back in the days, the 90s show.
Oh, yeah, of course.
There's a very quick scene later on in the show where the brothers between Corey and Sean meet, and they're all like, all right, they're going to get together. Are they going to like each other? So they do this thing where they go like rock, paper, scissors, at 3, go. Or it's not rock, paper. They go like 1, 2, 3, go, and they're supposed to say whatever their favorite color is and stuff. One of the things they do is like 1, 2, 3, Godfather. They both say Godfather. Then they walk away. Then they turn around and they go part 2. I remember seeing that as a kid and I was like, oh, is the film that good? Because I'd never seen it. Having seen it the first time, like a number of years ago, again, while I was in college, I was like, eh. Again, like the first film, I was like, "Nah, what is this? What is this? I don't get it. What's the point? What's the big deal?" The point? And then I saw it again when the offer was released originally. So I saw Godfather 1, saw Godfather 2 again. My response was like, "Yeah." Like, it was not really any different. Now, again, having read the source material, having read the behind the scenes and seen the behind the scenes and all that stuff, my opinion has once again changed, but, I'll leave that for the end. But for what I understand, Mr. Moose, as you mentioned probably already, you already like this film from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both of them. I like them almost equally. I know it's a tough one. I think if you ask any fan of The Godfather 1 and 2, 3, not so much. But
yeah, that's the
anybody
consensus.
who's a fan of 1 and 2, not that 3 is like, a terrible movie. It's just, it's not 1 or 2. Right?
It kind of is, honestly, but
yeah. But it's a tough one. And my ratings will reflect that. But there's different things and elements in both movies that are great, and just great movies, man, and big fan. I've seen both of them several times. I haven't rewatched Godfather 2 in quite some time, and it's a Paramount movie, and so I was trying to watch it on Paramount Plus, and of course that app has a whole lot of problems, and it wouldn't let me finish the
A lot of
movie,
glitches.
and
Yeah.
tried to rebooting, did all these things, check updates, and it just wasn't working. So thanks a lot, Paramount.
Yeah, so he promptly threw his TV again through the window, and he was just like screaming.
threw it out the igloo. No. But yeah, I mean, I've seen this movie several times. I've seen Godfather 1 more. I've probably seen that movie a dozen times. And this movie I've probably seen half a dozen times. Give or take. Maybe a little less. I don't know.
So in other words, you're going by
four.
memory. That's what you're really going to be doing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, yeah. It's a great movie, man. And it's, it reminds me of the first film. I said the same thing with this film, too. One aspect is, even if it was 4 hours, I'd be happy with that. More. Give me more. I'll watch more. Especially in the first movie. This one too. If there was more, especially more prequel, the Italy and Vito scenes, and even the Michael scenes and everything else. Maybe not more like Cuba and Havana and stuff like that, but I would have watched it. I would have been happy with more. But this movie, both of them, just this one as well, such great use of time. Half hour in, we're getting the Vito flashbacks in Italy, Michael assassination attempt. You get introduced to all these new people like Frank and learning about these other characters like Hyman Roth and Johnny Ola. It's just so much, and within a half hour. I love that about these movies. They give you a whole lot to absorb and all this information and what's going on, and then you already have an idea coming from the first one, and so just a great setup, great movie.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, this film, it's not as hand-holding as the first movie is in terms of the journey.
True.
It's also kind of rehashing certain things from the first movie in some instances, in some cases. If anything, what I want to start off with is, well, if there's a source material, I'm going to deep dive into it, right? Yep. Oh, look at that. I already did that. I don't need to do that again.
Just one novel.
Yeah, it's really all because the novel's 446 pages. So I already read the whole thing for the first episode when we were talking about this. And there's a lot of material in there, a lot of really good material in there that they didn't even put in the first movie. The only thing that they reappropriated was Vito's backstory, which is in the actual original book. There's some things that are different. And I think, I don't know, I want to say for the better, but I think it's just as good, but just different. For instance, the whole backstory with Vito is that he's in Italy. He's in Corleone, because that's not his last name. His last name is Andolini, as you mentioned. Andolini. So basically, like, his mom is vying to the Don in that particular area to be like, spare my son. Because what happened was his dad talked a lot of smack against the Don. What happens? Gets killed. Then his older brother is going to be like, oh, I'm going to get my revenge or whatever. He disappears, presumed dead. So he's the only one left. Yeah. So it's presumed he's just killed. So the mother goes up to the Don being like, hey, listen, please spare my son. He's an innocent child. He barely talks and blah, 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 blah. And the Don's like, he's going to grow up and try to kill me. Kill him. And then that's when his mother gets like a knife and holds the Don. He's like, run, Vito, run. And she ends up getting blasted to hell. It's a pretty killer beginning, honestly, to that whole thing.
Very intense, yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
So, of course, Vito runs, and next thing you know, he's on a ship. He's on Ellis Island. Goes up to the guys who are giving him new papers, and we're like, what's your name? Vito Andolini. He's like, from where? Corleone, Italy. Or Sicily, whatever.
Well, he doesn't even say any of it. He's not speaking at all. It's on his name tag.
Exactly. They surmise that from the information they have. And he's like, Vito Corleone, whatever, get out of here. So that's his new name.
Which actually happened a lot at Ellis Island. Back
exactly.
In the day, they change your name and things like that. So
yeah. Sometimes sometimes they do it for you. Sometimes you do it. Yeah.
And then they determined he had smallpox, so then he actually had to stay there for 3 months.
Yeah, he quarantined for 3 months. Exactly. If anything, though, the only difference in the book is that in the book he willingly changes his name to Corleone. For two reasons. One, because he does escape to protect himself because he is being hunted by the Don in that area. But also, secondly, it's just to remind him where he came from.
Yeah.
So that way he never forgets. So it's more poignant in the book, but in the movie, it works just as well. There's no complaints there. It's just like, because he is a very soft-spoken, very quiet boy, just like he is in the book. He says very few words as a kid, even as a young adult. And really, even as a grown-ass adult in the first movie, he's just a man of few words in general.
Yeah.
So he brings that energy. But nonetheless, that's just one example. And what happens later on is that there is a Don in New York City. He's a guy who's dressed all dapper-like, and he's collecting money, strong-holding people, be like, hey, you want protection? You better give me money. That kind of guy. And that guy is introduced when he and his buddy go to watch a play, right? And there's like a lady playing. She's the actress. And she's like, oh, she's really, really pretty, Vito. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to her and whatever. And when they go backstage, that's when that guy, that Don guy, is roughhousing. Yeah, there you go. That guy. And they're all like, he's a pretty bad dude. But like, yeah, but you know, people pay him money for protection. And
yeah, he controls the neighborhood, his organization, the Black Hand. And
yes.
So he pretty much runs that whole area.
Yeah, with an iron fist. So
yeah,
that's when later on in the flashback, Vito is like, I'm going to meet with this guy. And I'm going to try to come a deal because he's trying to extort money off of him because he works for a grocery store with his friend. And I think he's fired or something like that because the Don extorts the store owner to the point where he can't afford to pay him.
Exactly. And then he also tells him that the Don wants his nephew or someone to work there. So then there's not enough. The owner can't pay 2 salaries. So he has to unfortunately lets Vito go. And he's very apologetic because he's almost like a father figure to Vito. And but Vito's very understanding. It's like, don't worry about it. You've done so much for me since I got here. I won't forget it.
Yeah.
And so he's like, don't worry about it. I'll get the Don. Don't worry.
I'll talk with him. And I think this is the first time he says, at least canonically, like, I'll make him an offer that he wouldn't refuse. Like that, a variation of that line.
He says that, when he's eating with Clemenza, who's in the first movie, which is one of his earliest.
Played by a different actor in this film, in the flashback.
Of course, yeah. And then also Genko. He's in the beginning. That's who he's in the theater with, actually. And that's the name Genko, import or export olive oil.
Olive oil, yeah.
So that was his one of his earliest, oldest friends. And
very quickly in the book, he is in the very beginning. At that point, when you're introduced to him, he's like on his deathbed. He's an old man. And he's riddled with cancer. Yeah. And and he tells Vito like all the things we did because they both met originally in Corleone, the original town that they're from. And they both came over to New York City. And, he has a lot of regrets and all that stuff. But anyway, Genko, he does inherit the olive oil importing business, which Vito ends up getting from him. So, yeah. They work together. He joins the organization. He was the first consigliere for Vito. Yes.
So
correct.
That
was before Tom Haig.
Obviously,
That's before Tom Haig and his adopted son is consigliere.
Oh, way before.
Way before. Yes.
Yeah. So, and then Clemenza's there from the start as well. So,
yeah. Tom Hagen played by the recently departed Robert Duvall, who just passed away as of this recording.
Passed away. Yeah.
Which is insane.
Great actor.
It's so insane. I saw this movie, and the next day he just passed away, man.
Yeah.
That's so
crazy. It's not that's happened before for other. I've seen a movie and then that actor passed away. It's a really strange thing, but
it is. It's
what a
very
career,
surreal.
Man. What a great actor, great career.
Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe we can do a separate segment with him, but yeah, just to mention real quickly. But back to the main story. So Vito goes to the current Don. What's his name again? Fanucci. So he goes to Fanucci and he's like, listen, man, here's $100 or whatever it is. And he's just like, that's not enough money for me. He's like, it's times are a little tough. I'm going to need a job, blah, 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 blah. And then after that, Fanucci goes out. And then that's when Corleone does his whole thing where he goes to the rooftops. He's scouting the guy. He's waiting for him to go back to his apartment. He sneaks in before that guy gets in. He undoes the light bulb, makes it kind of flicker a little bit, hides in the shadow, wraps his gun in like his coat or something or a blanket. Yeah. That's when he assassinates him.
It's kind of it's a makeshift suppressor, basically.
As best as you can make it, yeah. So... And then
there's a parade going on outside, so he also has a little bit of other sound. A parade, there's fireworks and all this commotion.
Yeah, when the fireworks go off, that's when he does the gunshots, so people don't know the difference between the two. And then after that, he breaks the gun in two and just disposes it. He puts him down those chimney things, right?
Yep.
And then after that, he makes his getaway. And yeah, that problem is solved. In the original book, more or less that same thing happens. The only thing that's different is that it's nighttime. He follows him to a seedy part of the neighborhood where a lot of crime happens. And when he breaks the gun, he actually disposes it in the same sort of way in two different compartments, but instead of a chimney, it's actually a garbage chute, ensuring that they would never find the murder weapon and his fingerprints and all that stuff. And he remarks in the book, like, all that stuff was for naught because of the fact that the guy was not well liked by law officials. He's just like, they were kind of waiting for this guy to, like, bite the bullet, so to speak. And when he finally did, they didn't even launch an investigation. So Vito literally got away with murder. Yeah. And that's how the book goes. But nonetheless, though, it's like, it's pretty identical to the film. And the film, it does it differently, but it does it well as well. I mean, as you mentioned, the festival and the fireworks and all that stuff, it's big, it's bombastic, it's visually a feast for the eyes. It's still cool. So whether you read it in the book or you watch it in this film, it's still a cool scene overall.
Correct. 100%. I like all the scenes with Vito in the past with De Niro.
Yeah, I mean, De Niro does a really, really good job. I mean, yeah, he won the Oscar and stuff. Would it have been better if Marlon Brando reprised this role, though?
I don't know about that, to be honest. I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's really tough, right? Because it's like Marlon Brando's Marlon Brando. He's amazing in the first film.
I think this worked out.
It
better.
Did work out because De Niro does a great job.
Worked out better, I think.
Because like Marlon Brando's Marlon Brando, De Niro's also De Niro. He's also really captivating and really good as an actor.
I just don't think he would have been able to do these flashback. Brando wouldn't have been able to pull it off, I don't think.
Yeah, again, he was 49.
Not in this manner, yeah.
He was already too old at that point.
Older, a little bit heavier, a little bit, So, no, I mean, really, seriously. I mean,
no, you are correct. I'm laughing because you're correct.
I mean, it's a lot, so I mean.
There's literally a story, apocryphal as it may be, of his friend literally throwing cheeseburgers over his fence so he can chow down on them in the front yard.
Oh, man.
Yes, so yeah, he was a big boy by that point.
It's like a burger. Ooh, a burger.
Thank you, whoever gave me these cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah. But anyway, that's essentially the whole Vito. We're just really talking about the Vito backstory, but
then he goes back to Italy. We can't forget that.
Oh,
goes back to Sicily.
He does his vengeance on his mother and his papa and his brother.
Yeah, he gets that Don Ciccio, I think his name was. He's very old now, and tells him who he is, and then
kind of forgot until he says Andalini. That's when he's just like, oh, and then he does when he guts him like a fish, stabs him in the chest, and just.
Yep. And the dog's like, "Ay caramba!"
Ay caramba!
He doesn't say that.
He does a variation of that, basically.
Yeah.
And then that's when there's a shootout that happens, and they just make their way back to New York City. And that's when he kind of vows never to come back. But I believe he has Michael as a little kid, and he's just like, wave goodbye. But, he would send Michael back there after Michael does his deed with Solozzo and McCluskey. So, kind of poetic in that sense. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but very quickly, we see Michael, we see Sonny, we see Fredo as children. And the way the film does this is that they go back and forth. When we do the Michael story, once we're kind of done, so to speak, with his part of the story, we go back to Vito's story and vice versa. So whenever something major happens, you look back at the child version of these characters and you're just like, wow. Like, you already know how they end up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of somber. It's very poignant. It's melancholy. It's all these things. You feel bad, but at the same time, it's just like, well, this is the environment that they're raised in. I mean, this was their destiny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wasn't supposed to be Michael's, right? But,
well, Michael will get his due in the third movie. So,
he joined the army and he was supposed to become a politician eventually. And things just don't work out. And then third movie is like, when they thought I was out, they bring me back in. Or whatever he says. Just when I thought I was out.
Exactly. But But that's the whole Vito story, and it is very good. They speak Sicilian throughout the entire movie. He does a good job. I feel I'm not Italian, so I imagine he does a good job. People say he speaks very basic Sicilian, and De Niro doesn't really speak Italian in real life. So I don't know. To me, it's authentic. He did a banger job with this, and yeah. So I mean that rounds out that story. Michael's story, though, as I mentioned, it's wholly made up. His epilogue in the book is very different compared to what they do in part 2. So I'm not going to get into the book ending. I recommend people read that for themselves. It's a short chapter, but it's very good in its own right. But in part 2, what you realize is that, he's expanding his empire. I believe that they now live in Nevada, right?
Yeah. Lake Tahoe or wherever. Yeah, Nevada,
yes,
you're right.
Somewhere around there, because now they're moving in the casino business. So
already established. In the first one, they start that because they, after.
They send Fredo out there to do his scouting and stuff, and he's controlling a couple of casinos or whatever.
Or helping Mo Green at the time, and then Mo Green's killed at the end of the first one. So
exactly, yeah.
Corleone's moving in, so I think they own. That senator at the wedding says you already own 3. I think he says you own 3 casinos, and you're trying to get the other one. And then, of course, he's trying to extort the Corleone family.
He's charging him $250,000 in license fees. And it's like, about the license, it's about $40,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the senator is obviously.
He's extorting him.
And he's also very bigoted to.
Yeah, he says some choice words about Italians. That's not cool, but yeah. It goes to show like what the attitudes were at the time, because this is what, the 50s or something?
At this point, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, like, some time has passed.
Late 50s.
There you go. So, yeah, and that's one of the things too about this film that's to its detriment is like when you get to Michael's story.
No, early 50s. I'm sorry, it would be early 50s.
Well, sometime in the 50s, but one of the detriments to this film is that they kind of redo the wedding thing, which was a very special and unique thing in the first film, but then they just rehash it in the second one. I'm like, and they don't really do much different with it, you know what I mean?
Oh, but it's not a wedding in the second one,
or a celebration of some kind. It's an outdoor celebration with a lot of people dressed up, and
it's a communion or something like that, one of the Catholic ceremonies.
Yeah, but it feels too similar to the
celebration
first film.
For that. Yeah, true. First film, of course, was Connie's wedding.
I mean, it's just like, in my opinion, if you're going to redo something, you got to do it as differently as you can be. Like, for instance, the first Star Wars film, the Death Star. That is monumental. It's awesome, whatever. In Return of the Jedi, they redo the Death Star. But what do they do differently? Instead of the outer part of the Death Star, they go inside of the thing. So that's that's an example of doing something the same, but differently. In Godfather Part 2, it's just the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not.
Well, it also presents, showing that Michael is obviously the Don. So similar when these big events occur. You have a huge line of people who are going to be going to the Don asking for favors, and so you see Michael's, filled those shoes, and you see him at work as the Don, just like Marlon Brando did.
Yeah, it's note for note, but I think, in my opinion, what they could have done is they could have done an in-house party. So that's just like something that's the same but different. It's like, it's a party, but instead of outdoors, it's indoors. You know what I mean? Like that way, the familiarity wouldn't be too on the nose.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I get it though, because it's also, it's kind of a big deal for them, and so the big celebration goes with it, and it's also a time for more influence and to get more influence and things like that. So like, there's a business side of it, right, for the family.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not going to complain too much about the indoor scenes with, like the senator talking to Michael. I mean, that's going to happen, but I'm talking about mostly the outdoor scenes, but I digress. That's my complaint. But as the film goes on, there is a hit job done on him because of one of the other guys. What's his name again?
So you find out at the end that the assassination attempt was towards the end, not at the end, but Hyman Roth.
Yeah, that guy.
And then and the Rosado brothers, right? They kind of set up this
this orchestrated hit job on Michael.
Orchestrated it, and Fredo actually betrays Michael. He didn't expect it to be assassination. He was trying to set up a meet to get a little bit more influence, and he thought he was doing something that would benefit him and maybe indirectly benefit the family, but it was a betrayal. And
it wasn't. It wasn't the sense that he did not tell Michael what was going on. I feel like
he didn't tell. Yeah, he completely lied, and he said, I met Johnny Ola, and then he'd met Johnny Ola, so
well, he called him and stuff, and all that.
He was trying to get a deal going. He wanted. I mean, at one angle, you could see that Fredo, feels a certain way. He was passed down leadership for obvious reasons, and so he's. And he has that monologue and about being
he's not taken seriously. Yeah, he's not taken seriously. Exactly. He's the second in the Corleone line. But yeah, I mean, he's the older brother of Michael, but Michael is just more cunning. He's just better at his job as Don than he is. Yeah. Even his own father thought that. So
yeah, I don't think he didn't realize that the plan was to kill Michael. So I mean, Fredo's a lot of things, but one thing is he wouldn't want to hurt his own family. I don't think
so either. But
he's just so naive and didn't realize he's getting manipulated and getting played.
Well, at the same time, too, he's very resentful of Michael for those reasons. Like I'm the older, I'm smart too in my own way. Blah blah blah. He has all these grievances, and I'm like, bro, but I get that, dude. But at the same time, your little brother is better at this. You have to understand that. You have to tell him what's going on, because if you don't do that. Michael, Michael, man, at this point, he's a changed man. He's a my way or the highway guy. You get one strike, not three strikes.
And Fredo's already has strikes, right? So he already went against the family, was warned previously in the first movie with Mo Green, right? And, Michael made it clear, don't ever take sides against the family.
Yeah. So
he did it again. And not only that, whether obviously his intention wasn't the assassination attempt, at the end of the day, it nearly got Michael and Kate killed.
Yeah.
So Fredo messed up.
And his kids were also on the line too.
Exactly. So, and obviously, like I said, we find out Hyman Roth ordered the hit. A lot of it, there's business to it, but a big part of it was because of the Mo Green assassination, which he explains in the film, because Mo Green was an apprentice to Hyman Roth. He kind of mentored him and showed him the ropes. And
yeah, they explain that when they're in Cuba, because they're in Cuba for business dealing. This is, I think, before the communist revolution, right? Before Fidel Castro gets into power. It is,
yeah. It's still Batista controlling Cuba, and there was a lot of stuff going on at that time. And then in the movie, actually, the revolution is kind of kicking off. You see that at the chaos at the end, right, when they're leaving, and so.
Oh, that's when that's when it's full force at that point. But before
which
then,
is around
that's
53, which is 1953, I think.
There you go. But before then, they're trying to get business interests going. They're trying to build hotels or whatever, and just basically imperialize Cuba. Which the locals don't like. And they literally run them out of town too. So
yeah, Cuba was a place where people from the U.S. would go, and people with a lot of money and stuff, and vacation party and all kinds of stuff like that during the Batistas. Who was a brutal dictator. So but all that stuff happens, but that's when he tells him when they're in Cuba, and he makes a speech like, I don't know who ordered that hit on Mo Green, but whoever he is, and it makes me wonder, did he actually know it was Michael? I'm sure he did. That's why he orchestrated that hit, right? Yeah, he knew.
Yeah. So, and Michael, of course, he's just very cold and very still and just very well, that's a shame. I hope you find that guy. Without saying anything.
Mo Green?
I never heard of that. Never heard of that guy. Who is that guy? But yeah, if anything, though, I mean, Michael's story is good, but it's not great. Vito's story, I think, is more compelling. I think Michael's story in the first Godfather is, his ascension to Don is more compelling. It's the underdog story, whereas part two is more like the continuation of his role as Don. And, again, it's not terrible. It's good, but the impact is not quite there. And Pacino's acting is very good. He's intense from very beginning to very end. He's a scary motherfucker, honestly. Yeah. But unfortunately, he brings that intensity at the last scene of the film, because essentially what happens is that, Michael does his thing. He does his retribution against the hit job on him and his family. So he kills Hyman. He kills, or he arranges the other guy to get killed. That guy, what's his name? The old guy.
You're talking about
The guy in the
Frank?
tub. Yeah, Frank.
So basically, what happened was Frank, who's kind of like the replacement of Clemenza, he's the Corleone associate in New York, and so basically, what happened was he's having trouble in New York with these guys called the Rosado brothers, and so Hyman Roth and the Rosado brothers set up a hit on Pentangelo, Frank, and they basically frame it so it seems that Michael's the one who's trying to have Frank killed, which isn't the case, right? And so, in fact, they even use the line, Michael Corleone says hello. And Michael never sanctioned this hit. He wouldn't do that.
There you
and
go.
So that's why this guy flips and goes to the FBI. He's like, oh, Michael betrayed me and I got to go to the FBI. I'm going to cooperate with them. And
makes
that's
a
how you
statement.
get those Senate. Yeah, you get those Senate hearings, but he doesn't get to make them, or he changes his mind because, or retracts his previous statement, I should say.
Yeah, his sworn statement,
Yeah, because Michael basically brought Frank's older brother from Italy and brought him into the courtroom. So kind of as like, don't mess this up because we know where your family is in Italy. You brought your brother here, very, very strong warning. And so don't mess it up, Frank. And so Frank retracts his statement. And I don't know. I don't know anything about Michael's business.
It's like the FBI agents, they're the ones who made me do this, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
they coerced me to say these things. And I only knew Michael a little bit, back in the day, and I don't know. So
exactly. So if anything, that whole thing happens, the court hearings, Michael Corleone is on record, and they're all like, "Oh, did you kill these people?" Whatever.
Yeah, the tub scene you're saying is he does ultimately commit suicide.
Ultimately, yes. Yeah. And they talk about that a little bit. He talks about it with Tom Hagen, I believe. But that's what some people do, and he ends up doing it. So anyway, going back to my original thing, it's just like, yeah, he kills Hyman, Frank kills himself. And then you finally get to Fredo, unfortunately. He goes on a little fishing thing. It originally was going to be with Michael's son, but then he's, taken away, saying, oh, he's got to go on a little trip to Reno or something. And Fredo's like, all right, well, I'll go on this fishing trip. And he does this little Hail Mary prayer because he tells his son, Michael's son, that, we went on a fishing trip a long time ago and no one caught a fish except for me. You know why? Because I prayed. I did a Hail Mary and I got a fish, guaranteed or whatever. So you see him do that. And then after that, bang, you hear the bang. And then Michael's out there. It's a long shot. He sees and then he walks away and he's just like, or no, he doesn't walk away. He hangs his head. And and it's just like, it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, that sucks, bro. But it is what it is. I mean, you were warned.
Yeah. Yep. Tough, difficult decision he had to make. And but anyways, you see in this film. So, I mean, like we were saying, the first one you see Michael's rise, and in this film, of course, you see prequel and with Vito's rise, but followed up with Michael's ultimate decline, right? And, his morality being tested more and more, and then also becoming more kind of isolated, right? So
very much, yeah, because Kay wants nothing to do with him by the end. Connie's begging him not to do anything to Fredo. Of course, he does it anyway.
Yeah.
And she already knows that she killed Carlo Rizzi, her first husband, Connie.
Yep.
And Kay at this point is just like, you know what? And you see that in the end of the first film. Kay, as the door's closing, she gets this realization that Michael lied to me. And the second one is just full on like, you lied to me. You murdered these people. You are a gangster. I don't want any part of this. So, I mean, it comes at a great cost. And it's just one of those things where, like, if you hang on for power for that long, eventually, you're not going to sit on that throne much longer. So it's a good little morality tale, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the final thing I want to get across is the final scene. That's where we see Sonny, Fredo, and Michael there. So this is the scene where Brando was supposed to be in, right?
Yeah.
The thing about that scene is that Al Pacino's acting, he's really good throughout the entire film. But I feel like he brings that same energy to this scene. Like, for instance, he's intense. Like, he's a guy you don't want to mess with at all. But then you get to this scene, which takes place before Michael even goes to World War II. Before he's enlisted in World War II, right?
Yeah, he tells them that he already joined.
Exactly, but he has that same intensity, and he's not supposed to be intense. Like, think of him back in Godfather 1. He's kind of fresh and starry-eyed, I guess you could say. Like, he's not intense. He doesn't become
Right.
intense until after he executes Solozo and McCluskey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that to me was off. I think it would have been better if he just didn't bring that energy at all to that part. But other than that, though, I have no complaints with his acting. I think he was really good in that.
Yeah. It's a great scene. I mean, it's just, he's sitting there at the, by himself. Everyone's going to see Vito at the door. And, basically, the alienation or the isolation and so it's very fitting for The Godfather 2, even though it's a flashback. I always looked at it as, while that is a scene from Godfather 1 or a flashback of, before,
Yeah, the events before that.
it's like, but in the scene, while it is him at that time, like whatever year it was, it's actually him from Godfather 2. While it's, taking place at that time, that flashback, it's in his mind. He's recreated that scene in his mind when, while he, in the events of Godfather 2.
So in
So
other
he's that
words,
Michael.
instead of seeing a literal flashback of this is what actually happened, we're actually in the mind of Michael at the end of part 2, and he's reimagining what that scene was like, and he's putting himself in that scene. So he thinks of himself
That's
as
how
I'm going to be intense, even though he probably wouldn't have been in the actual scene.
he's intense, and he's being himself, right? Because that's who he is in The Godfather 2, right?
Yeah,
So he is himself, and that scene recreation of present day Michael in the scene that's the flashback. And I
yeah.
think I personally find it. Always felt that's how it was. Like, maybe there isn't some sort of more philosophical, and maybe I'm overanalyzing it or something. But I always thought that that's kind of how it was, because then I agree. Otherwise, I agree with you. Like, he
Like, why does he
he
seem
wouldn't
off?
quite probably
Yeah,
behave. Yeah, he probably wouldn't exactly play it out like this. Otherwise, he'd probably have something else to say, and he wouldn't just be sitting there. I don't know.
he'd be
It's
more of a
interesting, but I
timid
always,
kid. Yeah, but
yeah.
but then again,
So,
I'm taking it very literally. I mean, your interpretation,
yeah,
I didn't consider it when you brought that up. So I was just like, you know what? That's probably a more poetic way to go about it. Like, Michael's just
yeah,
revisiting that scene in his head. And he's like, if I was
yeah,
there, this is how I would act. But in reality, it's just like,
yeah,
nah, bro, you would have acted totally different. We've seen part 1. We've seen how
yeah,
timid you are. We, you were not the man you were before you decided to get into the business. But
yeah,
I guess if you were to think of it in that context, then the scene's fine, exactly the way it
yeah,
is. And honestly, I'm the only one that
yeah,
complains about it anyway. So I mean, no one else has ever brought that up. No one else
yeah,
has a problem with it. So
yeah. I don't know if Coppola had that intention, like the way I see it, but obviously up to interpretation. But I don't know if he meant it a different way, or the way it's conveyed. But I'm not entirely sure. But that's just the way I always looked at it, and how I connected that scene. But obviously, what he intended was to show that Michael's isolated, he's alone, everyone's pretty much either gone or gonna be gone, type of thing, almost, something like that,
yeah,
So,
but yeah, ultimately, I mean, this film is about 3 hours long, and it doesn't really falter too much. I mean, I feel like at some parts it does feel like it's dragging a little bit compared to the first film, but
yeah,
ultimately,
not the Vito scenes, but yeah,
well, even the video scenes for me, I mean, just like sometimes I'm just like, it's kind of better in the book because again, there's a lot of stuff in the
okay,
book that they go into much. Not it's not that they go into much detail. It's just that they speed it along. They tell you
Mhm.
the main thing that's happening and they move on to the next scene. Whereas in the film, they just let it simmer. They just let it marinate, so to speak. They're like, let's just keep the scene going as long as possible. And I'm like, I don't know. For either you like it or you don't. I decidedly don't like that. I'm like, just kind of get to the point. Let's move the scene along. Let's move the
Yeah,
scene along a little more, if you
yeah.
would, please.
I can see that some of the scenes. I don't feel like the Vito scenes drag on at all, but I can see where some of the scenes in Havana and a couple of scenes with Michael, they do drag up a little bit. Um,
It's more
so
egregious for the Michael scenes, yeah.
yeah.
Because again, they made it up for the film, and I think they were just like,
That's true. Yeah, there's no source.
there was no source material. I feel like if there was source material, it would have been more. It would have been plotted better. I feel.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it isn't
True.
made. Puzo was on a deadline, I'm assuming, so he was just like, whatever. He goes to Havana and they have fun and whatever.
Yeah.
A quick thing too. Puzo was really opposed to having Fredo killed in this. Like Coppola was the one who was just like, you got to kill Fredo. And Puzo was like, I don't want to kill him. I don't want to do it. I'm like, come on, man. It's appropriate. He crossed Michael. He has to die. And so Puzo relented, and that's how we got that scene in the film.
Okay.
But I feel like if there was a source material involved regarding the fate of the brothers, it would have probably gone differently.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
I think it works, though. I think it works this way because of how Michael is now and with Fredo being warned already and this betrayal, I think it kind of the outcome in this case was pretty good. I thought worked better than.
I agree.
Because what else would have been the option? He sends him a first class ticket to move to the Caribbean or somewhere else and like exiles him or something. So
which wasn't going to happen because after their mother dies, he's just like begging Michael, I want to reconcile, please, Michael, me. And he's just like. And Michael does, but it turns out to be like, not real.
Well, Michael, he said that he won't hurt Fredo as long as their mother's alive. So, So once she passed away, then
Fredo's got to go.
Kill Fred. Yep.
Yeah. So, but even then, like at the funeral of their mother, that's when they reconcile. But Michael didn't mean it.
Yeah, the plans were already, in his mind, the plans are already been made. So
exactly.
So Fredo's going to be sleeping with the fishes.
Actually, kind of, sort of, literally, because they kill him on the lake, didn't they? So
yes. But yeah, I mean, the movie is awesome, man. The acting, once again, top notch, of course, right? I think Pacino's even better in this film, right? And
he didn't even win the Oscar.
Shocking. I mean, that's crazy. But the actor played Fredo, Cazale. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
What was his name? John Cazale,
yeah,
whatever.
That's it. John, yeah. So really had his moments in this movie. First movie was all right, but this movie really stepped it up. A lot more scenes and more dialogue. And really good.
Yeah, I thought he was good no matter what. He's got more to deal with in this film compared to the first one. But yeah, I mean, he's also in Dog Day Afternoon. He's also in Deer Hunter, which we're going to cover eventually.
Correct.
He had a very esteemed career and unfortunately was really short. He would die of lung cancer at age 42. Heavy smoker. And unfortunately, I mean, a lot of people could be heavy smokers, but some people just get it really early. And unfortunately, he was one of the ones that got it really early. So very unfortunate because he was a good actor. So I mean, who knows where his career would have gone had he lived longer, but he doesn't make, we can only speculate.
Yeah. One thing about in this film, I will say, Robert Duvall's character, obviously Tom Hagen, is definitely sidelined, unfortunately.
It is,
so you get a lot less Tom Hagen in this film, and a lot less Duvall, R.I.P. And there's a reason for it because, Michael had already stated that Tom's not a wartime advisor, right? So there's a reason for it, I guess, in that sense, and then the rest is just writing. But even the other actors who played Hyman Roth, I thought he did a great job, and even Johnny Ola, who's Junior Soprano, Uncle Junior from The Sopranos, so did a good job as well. So
did know that.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, it's Johnny Ola, Hyman Roth's right hand man.
I got to do a comparison then. Holy crap. Yeah, so ultimately, when it comes to this film, I think we're ready for ratings, are we?
We are ready for ratings, I guess. Right. Yeah, I mean, with this film, what do you need to say? I mean, it's fantastic movie. I think it's just about as good as the first one. Like I said, I think I like the first one a bit more. A little tighter story, I think, but the flashback scenes in Godfather 2 are so damn good. In general, I mean, they both have so many good things, and I think it's equally good in many ways, and so it's tough because I gave a 9 out of 10 for the first film. And I think I'm going to give this one also a 9 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Although I kind of want to give it just a little bit less, but...
An 8.5 maybe?
Honestly,
but I don't want to.
It would be then between an 8.5 and a 9 for sure. It wouldn't be an 8.5, but I'm just gonna bump it up to a 9.
All right, fair
Great
enough.
movie, amazing sequel, awesome.
Yeah, we didn't touch on the music, but Nino Rota did a really good job with the music in this one too. I think it was better in the first movie, but he did a good job on this one. And Coppola's father, Carmine Coppola, also added some pieces here and there as well, which is kind of cool. But yeah, as we mentioned in the last episode, where the one where we talked about Godfather, Nino Rota was snubbed for the Oscar in that one because he reappropriated some themes from another film into this one, or into that film, Godfather one. Even though it's mostly the same music, there's a lot of original music and stuff like that. I guess the Academy was just like, screw it, give it to him. So they gave it to him, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, best original score.
Hell yeah. But for my ratings, the first Godfather, I ended up giving it a 7.5, close to an 8, honestly. Because upon reevaluating the film and seeing all this stuff, reading all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's actually a lot better than I gave it credit for the first time. But what about Godfather Part 2? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it just the same? I would say that it's maybe a tad bit worse, and maybe saying worse is a really strong word. It's a good film. It's really worth watching, but it does drag, as I mentioned earlier. So whereas I give the first Godfather like a 7.5, maybe close to an 8, I give this one a solid 7. You know, not quite as good, but it's still good. It's definitely worth watching. Is it the greatest sequel of all time? No, that would be Empire Strikes Back, but this is pretty good. So
no, I mean, those are, among the greatest. I wouldn't say this is the greatest sequel either. I mean, it's in the top 5, I think. Probably this, in my opinion, this and Empire and Terminator 2, and there's a lot of good sequels.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, I say Empire, but Return of the Jedi is my actual favorite sequel of all time. But anyway, still, yeah, the protege George Lucas is just a lot better. I'm sorry, or at least his films are. He didn't even direct Empire or Jedi. But anyway, I digress.
No,
I digress. All right, guys, that is The Godfather Part 2. Stay tuned for the next one. This one is based on a book, and yeah, it's a very interesting film. I'll just leave it at that.
And as always, don't forget to like and comment, subscribe. I know there's Godfather fans out there. Let us know what you think about this movie. What are your favorite scenes? Tell us about it. Peace.